Scorpio Rising, again, this is another Mars ruled placement, but it's also ruled by Pluto. And the best way that I can describe the difference between Aries and Scorpio, with them both being ruled by Mars, is if you've ever seen the series Power, you have Tommy, who would be the Aries, and Ghost, who would be Scorpio. And now they're both ruled by Mars, right? So they both have the same intention, the same drive, the same ambition, passion, like to do whatever they want to do. But they both express themselves in a different energy, where Tommy, he was the fighter, he was the muscle, he was like the hitman. He was always ready to, like, if someone did something wrong to him or people he cared about, he's ready to just fight, kill, make it happen, do. He was the hitman, the hands, had a hands-on approach. Whereas Ghost, Scorpio, has the same intention, the same goal, but he was coming from a more mental space, really knew how to get into the minds and the souls of people and really know how to break somebody down, like at their core. Like he almost is like, puppeteer. Knows how to really control people from a mental space and really break them down in that way. And very manipulative with and knows how to get his way. And not to make Scorpio sound like a terrible placement, but in its highest vibration, it can be, it's what Scorpio is your superpower. Scorpio rules like psychology, mystery, sex, death, rebirth. It rules the sexual organs in terms of the body parts. It just rules the dark spaces. These are the private investigators. These are psychologists. These are the people who like work for FBI, like that kind of vibe that they give off. These are the kind of people who probably have like jobs that people don't know about, or like a side hustle that they don't really express, and not many people know about, like their passion or like their little hobbies or something like that. Even when they tell you what they're doing, you still like walk away thinking like, wait, like I still don't really know them as a person. I don't really know what they do on a day-to-day. Like there's some like air of mystery about Scorpio Rising. And so with their superpower being around being able to manipulate and control emotions and people's psychologies and minds, they have a really, in a more positive light, they have a really good way of being able to understand people. They know how people's minds work and how people are going to react. They are kind of like almost like this power of like foresight, and they just really know how to understand people. And when people are going through a hard time, they know how people will react and how they will like respond to certain things. And with them being ruled by Scorpio as well, they really pride themselves on their privacy, love to spend time alone, or I don't know, maybe even live in like, I don't want to say a dark place, but always like to be in the dark, never have the lights on, that kind of thing. You're around a Scorpio rising because they tend to have really intense life experience, even if they are having an identical situation as like their best friend or even a sibling. They seem to go through the situation more intensely. So you could lose your job as a Scorpio rising at the same time as your best friend at work, and they just lose their job and they get a new job. They might be looking for a job for 6 months, whatever. But for a Scorpio rising, they lose their job, they get a divorce, like everybody dies around them before they can even like start to look for a new job. Like things just like these are the signs that create the saying like all bad things happen in threes. Like it just never just like one simple thing that happens to Scorpio rising. Everything seems to like crumble at once. And they seem to go through like a whole life transformation, because Scorpio rules transformations and transmuting, and that kind of thing. You'll know you're around a Scorpio rising because these are the people that have like fully tinted out cars, like maybe live in a basement, just prefer to just be, I don't know, like tucked away, hidden. You don't know where they live, or you've never been to the house, or you've never been to their room. They don't like you to be in their personal space. And to go back on the life experiences of a Scorpio, wherever Scorpio is in your chart, it usually rules like irreversible transformations. So once you go through an experience, you tend to not have the same experience again, because it has almost to the point where it's like changed your chemical body. Like it's changed you in a way where you will never make the same mistake. You'll never go through the same situation twice, because it wasn't just like a little like breakup. It wasn't just like a job loss. It wasn't just anything. It was like a whole life transformation, and that part of you that related to that situation kind of dies with it. And so you are a new person all the time. You're constantly renewing, kind of like snake skin, always just shedding. Where they fall at is that they can't just take a life lesson. Someone can't just give them advice and they'll just take it, but like, okay, yeah, that makes sense, and like move on with their life. They have to really experience it. Like it's a full body, emotional, mental, physical, like change. Like everything has to die with that situation. They can't just like take a lesson casually. They really have to go through it. So this is a fixed water sign. So these people can be really laser focused. Like when they are on to something, when they're like in the game, when they're like got their mojo, there is no stopping them. And it's because they go through these experiences. So usually their life experiences make them get into this laser focused kind of energy. And so there's no stopping them. You can't disrupt them. And maybe that's where they go into like their Scorpio mode and go in the dark and like disappear. And it's because from their life experiences, they have to kind of disconnect and get on with whatever they need to get on with, like their next chapter in life, because they tend to find themselves in situations where everything's kind of fallen apart, and so they really need to build on it. So they get really laser focused with whatever project they're doing. A really good quality of a Scorpio rising specifically is that they're really great at bouncing back. And so because Scorpio rules the sex organs and sex too, usually your sexual organs are going to be a good indicator of when you are out of balance or when you are out of alignment, when things are like a little bit off. And because you have this like natural sexual like essence about you, people find you very attractive. You can come across as a naturally sexual person even if you're not meaning to, even if you are like very virgin like. People still think that maybe you have this like really dirty side, or you maybe find yourself saying lots of innuendos by mistake, or you just have this very promiscuous vibe without even trying. And because you're a fixed water sign as well, this is a general water sign trait that you can be prone to like hoarding, holding on to things. That could be physically and emotionally, that you really find it hard to let go, because when you let go as a Scorpio rising, it's a part of you that you have to let go of too. And so part of your like life lesson is to have like a healthy detachment to all things and people, because to avoid you being having to go through this whole transformation with everybody, because you don't just like break up with people. It's like you have to break down everything that has to do with that person, and then you can move on. You really have to cultivate forgiveness, and Scorpio risings tend to have a problem with trust, and a lot of the time it's trust within themselves. It's self-trust and relying on themselves to have that discernment before getting into a situation or a job or whatever. Trusting yourself to get into a situation, to then trust the other person to deal with you whilst you're more vulnerable. And lastly, what I'll say about Scorpio rising is a lot of Scorpio risings tend to have like a patchy memory around childhood, or just about the past. Like they seem to struggle with being able to remember things clearly, and I think there's a lot to do with this constant death and rebirth of self. And so anything traumatic can happen, and for them to truly get over it, they kind of have to, for how they process things, it's like they have to kind of forget it. And so it's not like they had a bad childhood necessarily, although they could have, but it's like the memories aren't really there because they had to kind of like remove it. It had to die, it had to be removed in order for them to move forward. And so even if they had a great childhood, it's like there's just not really like a series of life, like day-to-day things, or like just how general life was in the past seems to be very patchy.